I've got a question to ask you. What if the next 20 minutes you decided to invest in your health and it could change the next 10 years of your life? Today I'm being joined by Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp. She's a doctor of chiropractic, certified functional medicine practitioner, biohack expert, and author. We're digging into three things most women aren't told: how much protein you actually need to reshape your body, why getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep can flatten stubborn belly fat. Yes, really. And when more cardio quietly works against your hormones. You'll also hear the simple morning stack that takes less time than scrolling on your phone and the overlooked inflammation test that explains brain fog, aches, and I'm doing everything right. Why isn't anything working? By the end, you'll know exactly what you need to tweak this week. Let's dive on in. Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, welcome to Create the Best Me. I am so excited about the conversation we are going to have today.
Very excited for the conversation we're going to have because I think it's a pretty hot topic.
It is. Dr. Nathalie, could you please tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do, for those that don't know you?
Thank you. It seems like it will be a long answer. I'll try to make it quick. I'm a book author, so I've written 6 books now, all about health. One is called Smart Cuts, Biohacking Your Health Span. The other one, which is a brick, is called Hack Your Health Habits. So I'm a chiropractor by training, and I'm also certified with the Institute of Functional Medicine. I just love health. I love helping my patient with their health journey. And by writing books, then I can reach a bigger audience because I'm constantly learning, researching, biohacking, trying things. So I figure, hey, while I'm doing this, I want to share it with my patients because I realize it's my passion and I put more time and energy, and not everyone has the same amount of time. So I'm all about those shortcuts to have, more efficiency when it comes to your health.
And I love the whole shortcut thing because I think that a lot of times we women, it's just like, believe it or not, we don't have much time. It seems like time is something we wish we had a little bit more of. So I'm game for any shortcut. And so the reason I invited you onto the show is because I would like to talk about aging and vitality. What women in midlife can do right now that will significantly change the next 10 years of their life.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, I could go on for an hour just on that. So, I think first of all is, and I mean, you're a transformational coach, so you know that it's the awareness, right? Like it's taking the inventory of where you are at right now and where you want to go and really doing a truthful assessment of your daily routine and habits and mindset and all of that. So I think that's kind of the first thing that we can do. And as you said, as women, we tend to, career, kids and family and go to the detriment oftentimes of our adrenal glands. And this is kind of the first thing that I always say to women: if you really nurture your adrenals, which are producing the cortisol and the adrenaline is, us not getting in a car accident, adrenaline pumping, but the cortisol is more that, chronic stress. And we do need the cortisol. That's what makes us get up in the morning and wake up. But we really want, as women in our 30s and 40s, to really nurture those adrenals because as we get older, the estrogen, progesterones are no longer produced as much by our reproductive organs, but they're more produced by the adrenals. So if you really push yourself hard and, lack of sleep and too hard workouts or just really abusing yourself from a stress point of view, it's really going to have an impact. So the first thing I'd say, like awareness, and then really owning in on the sign and symptoms that your adrenals need to be nurtured more. So those would be like first thing to look at. And then there's obviously a series of things that are, very, very practical that we can chat about as well.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of women don't understand. When you hear hormones, you think menopause. And what I think women need to understand is that our hormones start to change after, what is it, 35?
Oh, they change more after 35, but I think we're always in a state of fluctuation, and that's the yin and the yang of the body, right?
Mm-hmm. And so as our hormones are shifting, unfortunately, degrading, we don't look at the way we perform. As you mentioned, like maybe you work out really, really hard, that invites cortisol. The way you filter in information, the way your body responds, it brings on cortisol because your mind is just thinking differently. And that cortisol is no longer beneficial. It's hurting us.
Yeah. Well, it's, as I said, I don't know if people understand, but cortisol and melatonin are kind of the opposite hormones. Like the cortisol raising in the morning, that's what makes us get out of bed. And as the day tapers, the cortisol goes down and melatonin increases. So those two hormones have to be in sync. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, with the busy life, what happens is that, it's that constant. I mean, we've all had days that we were busy and we don't sleep as well that night because our mind is still racing. Or a tail sign for women, usually in their 40s, is to wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning like you're ready to go. Your cortisol is not peaking at the right time, too early, or also blood sugar issue that your blood sugar is low and it wakes you up for your cortisol to rise to produce some sugar into your bloodstream. So that cortisol is important. It's a natural function, but it's chronic. And that chronic leads to chronic inflammation. And I find that this is such an important topic that it's not always talked about. And inflammation is diabetes, it's the heart disease, it's the dementia, it's cardiovascular disease, but it's also ill-responsive hormones. And I always have this picture when I give presentation of a cell. So having a cell that's inflamed, the membrane, then that cellular communication is not happening the way that it should be. So a lot of women will have hormone issues and it's like, dang, I'm doing everything that I should. Or their hormone tests come back like it should be okay, but it's not because they have a lot of inflammation. So that's something that I talk a lot about with my female patients so that they can look at their lifestyle to see what's creating inflammation, because that's oftentimes a missing piece of the hormonal puzzle.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of women, I think the first indicator of inflammation, because I noticed it as I got older, because I suffer from chronic pain. I've had chronic pain. I suffer from chronic migraines, but I also have chronic body pain. And I noticed that as I got older, the pain started to increase. The other thing I noticed is, and I hope people are listening to this, if I moved, if I worked out, if I did the exercise, the pain would reduce. It wasn't as intense as the day before.
Yeah.
And I was always told that's inflammation. Inflammation is causing that pain in the body.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, so many people. I'm sorry to hear that you live with chronic pain. It can be quite debilitating. And again, it's just looking at all the system in the body, from a lifestyle point of view for you to say, okay, what am I doing in my current life that is increasing inflammation? I always talk about our toxic load. So detoxification is important and all that, but I always say, what about not putting it in the first place so you're not stressing your body too much? So it's our beauty products, it's our cleaning products, it is our furniture, it is the air that we breathe, it is the water that we drink. So I do entire presentation on detoxification, but more from a point of view of decreasing our toxic load, like EMF and all these things that have an effect on our body. So I think focusing on that can be also helpful for women to decrease their inflammation. And let's face it, I always say our toxic load, imagine a bucket. And some of us have buckets that are more filled up than others because two people can have the same lifestyle, live in the same house, but one has immune system issues like eczema or asthma, or, a decreased immune system function, get sick all the time. It depends on your toxic load. So it's one thing to talk about detoxifying, but it's also what we can do to decrease with our lifestyle our toxic load. And that's a big, big one for women, is really sitting back and assessing your beauty product, your deodorant, your shampoo, your makeup, and all of those things. And they all add up. So another very important point.
Wow, I never looked at it from that perspective. I know when I was trying to get pregnant after I had my daughter, I read a book about that particular topic, about trying to eliminate those toxins can help you get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just overwhelming.
It can be, and it is hard. Let's face it, our environment is more polluted. Our food system is even more complex than it was. But at the end of the day, we have to, take inventory and say, okay, what can I do to truly decrease my toxic load? And sweating, little trampoline, lymphatic system activation, but sweating. And a lot of women, they tell me, oh, Nathalie, I don't like sweating. I'm like, what are you talking about? You need to sweat. Like, this is a way for us to excrete our toxin, one of the way. So it's just all of those things, like I said, add up. And you talked about movement, which, movement is so important. So many things. Detoxification is one of the impact, because you're moving your body, your lymphatic system is going to detoxify more. And then from a women perspective, and with premenopause and menopause, strength training, and you and I talked about that briefly before we got on. It's something that I see in my female patients that, they're not embracing strength training for the fear of getting too big or what have you. And yet it is such a key component. The more muscle mass you have, the more you're going to be metabolically efficient, and the less blood sugar issues, the less, cortisol issues, the less so many things, and even weight gain, right? So it's just something that I think is kind of ingrained in women. Like, I was getting better, but you'd go to the gym, you'd see the guys in the weight room and the ladies on the elliptical and so forth. Not to say that you don't need to do some cardiovascular exercise, but it is something that is so neglected for women, and it could be such a game changer for muscle mass and also bone density as we get older, because you want to look at your later years. And sadly, I have many patients that have osteoporosis, and you look at their lifestyle. Some of it is genetics, of course, but what in their lifestyle made it that their bone density decreased so much. So all of those factors have to be taken in consideration.
Yeah, and I've interviewed a couple of health experts who have stressed big time. They've said what women need to understand is that if they are within their perimenopause or menopause years, strength training is what they need to do. Because getting on that elliptical or going outside and running X miles is actually increasing your cortisol. And then you're going to be upset because at the end of the week, or if you're measuring yourself monthly, you're going to see that you didn't lose weight. Yeah. So if the key is that you want to lose weight, you need to change your program.
Yeah. And also, too, I find the way I worked out in my 30s, 40s, 50s, and even like in the last few years, like I still do quite a bit of strength training. But when, I own a business and when it was more stressful, it's not time to go and run, or do triathlon and push your body to no end if you're already tired.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with you as well, because 10 years ago, I was 15 pounds lighter, or maybe 20 pounds lighter. And it's funny because I still do the same thing. I eat about the same kinds of foods, and I'm still as active as I was back then. Why can't I get rid of those extra 20 pounds?
That's a good question. Metabolism decrease. I don't know anything about your muscle mass versus your fat mass and so forth. And we change. Like, it's just, again, the way I used to do things in my 30s, it's not the same. So we have to adapt. And I still think some people have more challenging health issues than others. But at the end of the day, it's the sleep, it's the movement, it's the nutrition, it's the hydration, it's the detoxification. And those 5 pillars are key. And I know, like, sometimes I do a whole presentation of an hour on sleep. And at first I'm like, wow, am I going to have enough to talk about sleep for an hour? And I do. And, we can go fancy with the latest recipe on this and the latest workout. But at the end of the day, those pillars I just mentioned are key. And you can't add on and see results if you're not making sure that you have that foundation. And sleep is huge. Right? I see it with so many women. I ask, okay, how many hours are you sleeping? Oh, I go to bed at 11 and I'm up at 5 to run the gym. You're barely getting 5 or 6 hours. You can't continue. You can, but at some point your body is just going to tell you, I no longer can do that. So going back to that awareness that I was talking about is to always keep in mind to push, because the body needs to be challenged to stay resilient. So I even have a book all about resilience, but there's that fine line to not overdo it, because stress can be positive or can be negative. And I think we need both. We just can't, go full out all the time.
So I think here's my personal perspective is I think that a lot of women think that, well, in order for me to be healthy, I need to dedicate X amount of hours working out.
Yeah.
I have to, because I'm not going to have big guns like Dr. Nat if I don't work out X amount of hours.
Yeah.
And they forget that there are the other pillars that you just identified.
Yeah. And also too, like, I did spend hours at the gym in my 20s and 30s, but you don't need to. And that's the other thing too is, it doesn't have to be this hard. Like, you could do strength training. I do 4 times a week now, and I can do my strength training in 25 to 30, 35 minutes, depending, right? Like, so you don't need to be at the gym for hours. You don't need to be at the gym. You could do some strength training. You do need resistance. Body weight exercise are good, but to their limitation if you're trying to build more muscle mass. But I think it is the fact that we forget that, let's say, 20 minutes of exercise is better than none at all. And I know for busy people, like, okay, I can't go to the gym. I don't have the hour and a half. No, if you have 20 minutes, put your running shoes on and just do push-up, chin-up, and squats, and do some curls or bench press or like whatever, right? So instead of thinking that we don't have the time, is to put it in section and smaller section. And at the end of the week, it will add up. And it's also like that hacking component. If you're a mom and you're dropping your kids at soccer practice, well, run around the track while they're practicing. It's just, we do not have a lot of time. So what can you squeeze into your day that is going to be valuable? So for instance, I know my morning routine, not all the time because I'm in Ottawa, Canada, and we've got snow. So sometimes there's no sun whatsoever, but right now it's fabulous. I go out in the morning, barefoot in my backyard, looking at the sun, having my morning decaf coffee, just grounding for 10, 20 minutes, looking at getting some sun into my eyes. So I'm doing, sun into my eyes, activating my melanopsin receptor. I'm grounding. I'm having my nice cup of decaf coffee because I like to delay coffee in the morning. My first cup being decaf or a tea. So, this is what I mean by hacking and combining many things that you can do. Sometimes I do my cardio or bicycle while watching a podcast that I've been wanting to listen to. Sometimes I do meetings with my staff and I'm on the bike. Sometimes I do meeting with my staff. I hit a set and I come back because I have weights in my basement. So it's my staff, it's my team. They don't mind. I do what I preach. So it's how can you integrate the activities that are important to your health into your life and not think that you do need to go for hours. So I think it's acknowledging that, 20 minutes of what I just said is going to add up and we don't need as much as we think.
And I think what people don't think about is when you're taking those 20 minutes to either get on the bike or lift weights and pull away from the activity that you were currently in, you are allowing your mind to detox. It is detoxing, and you are gaining so much more. So you can go back to whatever that task was.
And you're going to, or a problem. And it's like, now you have the
You
answer
got it.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Even taking a shower sometime, the solutions I find in the shower are crazy. Or I'm a big fan of weighted vest walks now. And it's just like, I'll go for my walk and come back. And the task that I was trying to do is I was tall, I was not getting anywhere, sit back, boom, now I can concentrate and I feel recharged. And I thought of something while I was walking, because walking is, I have a hard time personally meditating, steady and just dedicated, but walking meditation, oh my goodness, like I need movement. Movement just really helps me. So for people that are listening and going, yeah, I can't meditate, I can't sit still. Well, you don't have to. There is such a thing as walking meditation. It just gives you still some benefit of meditating and being along with your thoughts and just letting things kind of flow and listen to yourself.
So Dr. Nat, let's say I came in to see you.
Yeah.
I am over the age of 50 and I've already told you I suffer of chronic pain. I do not like taking medication. What I do normally is I take a shower, I stretch, I take a walk, do something to try to alleviate the pain. But I have a young daughter. She's 12 years old. She's going to be 13. I need to be able to be healthy for her.
Yeah.
You've already talked about awareness. What other tools would you suggest for me?
I would just, like I do for myself, just look at all of the areas of your life where you can, with the movement, with the sleep, with the detoxification, and then look at your food, supplement regime, and so forth. And then obviously your level of inflammation. So I'm assuming you get tested on a regular basis for inflammatory markers. So this is something that, if I was to be your doctor, I would like to dig a little bit deeper to see what can we do in your body to decrease that inflammation. So it's almost like a functional medicine questionnaire is almost like a detective questionnaire to look at all of the aspects of your life in terms of habits and symptoms. Obviously, if people have heartburn or indigestion and all of that stuff, but it's looking at all the systems, but also digging deeper to see the level of toxic load and to see the level of inflammation and so forth. But I think it can almost be approached the same way we would approach any other person's lifestyle, to look at all of those pillars to decrease the inflammation, to support the mitochondria, the energy center of the cell, like supplementation, like, CoQ10 and B complex, and looking at your adrenals, supporting them with radiola or ashwagandha. But again, wouldn't want to just toss that at you without knowing what you take currently and what's your diet like and so forth. So it is hard for me to generally say that, but you're right. Movement is key. And I know it's a bit counterintuitive when people are in chronic pain to move because they're sore, but, to start slowly and do kind of movement snacks, go for a 10-minute walk as opposed to an hour if you're going to be more sore. So do a 10-minute routine of hip opener, yoga hip opener, like just something to get you moving. And I think in the case of people with chronic pain, it's to be even more attuned to their body to say, okay, I'm pushing enough, I need to, or I'm pushing too much, I shouldn't. And it's to listen to the body and start learning those intricacy of too much or too little. So I think that's probably the most challenging things for people with chronic pain, right?
Yeah. You talked about the inflammation test.
Yeah.
I didn't know that kind of test existed.
Yeah, there are some that can be done through your regular blood work. They're called inflammation marker. They're pretty general, but they're a good place to start. But then there are tests like the omega-6 to 3 ratio, that if we're too high in omega-6 versus 3, it creates inflammation at a cellular level. So doing a test, and it's usually a quick, easy blood test that can be done, it gives you your levels. So knowing that, you're like, oh, okay. Am I eating too much inflammatory seed oils? Am I not eating or consuming fish, and or am I not taking supplementation? So omega-3s is one of the top supplements that I always suggest to my patient that have arthritis inflammation and oftentimes because our North American diet is just so high in omega-6. And if we're not, living by the water and eating fish or not taking supplementation, it really can distort the ratio. So that's a test that can easily be done to measure 11 of the essential fatty acid profile as well. So it guides us into, arachidonic acid, which is inflammatory, is too high. Okay, let's look at the diet and tweak that. So I would definitely suggest that test for you.
And that's interesting because, the pain that I suffer from is due to injuries. So it's not like I have fibromyalgia or anything like that. But I just think it's interesting how when I first, after my injury and after I went through all the treatment and we decided, okay, I'm never going to get better. It's always going to hurt. I'm surprised that they never tested me.
Yeah,
I never had those tests.
Yeah, you would have to, like I said, some of the regular blood work through your medical doctor cover, just maybe 2 or 3 markers just as a general kind of test. And then if they're high, then they'll start investigating. But the one I just told you, it's not going to be done by your family doctor, unfortunately. Like it's more through a functional medicine practitioner, a naturopath, someone that's looking at different things. Because again, like the routine check that we get done is a good place to start, but it's not the all and be all. And that's why sometimes for women, it's frustrating because they're feeling tired. They're not doing well. They go get blood work. Your blood's fine. You should be fine. Well, I'm not fine. And then they get almost depressed. And then you go the route of potential antidepressant and so forth. So again, this is why going to the source and doing the proper testing and seeing the right practitioners to guide you as what is going on.
And I think a lot of doctors would say, you're going through menopause. Your hormones are depleting. You're going through menopause. It's just normal. Learn to live with it. I've decided, I'm not going to learn to live with it. I'm going to move because the more I move, the less I hurt. As I mentioned to you, about the plantar fasciitis. Yeah. If I do not walk, I can't, if I don't do my 3.5 mile walk every day, I cannot walk. My feet hurt so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to go back to the hormone, I'm not sure if you know where that comes from, is that the women health study that they did years ago that showed that hormones were detrimental, and now it's getting debunked a lot, and especially with bioidentical hormones and so forth. But it's going to take a while for women to start feeling comfortable to get on bioidentical hormone because we've been told, oh my God. But bottom line is that there's a lot of benefits to hormones that we need more studies done properly, because that was the big thing with the women health study, that it was done on progestin and just poorly designed. So in general, we need more research done for us women. And you're right, we don't want to suffer. I used to joke that I wanted to skip menopause altogether. And I worked on people, when I would say that to a woman on my table having hot flashes, and say, yeah, good luck with that now. I can't say that it was perfect, but I put all the chances on my side and got help with supplementation and so forth. And now we're looking at brain health. Like it's not just can you suffer through it or can you function through it. It's like my mom just passed away 3 years ago of Alzheimer's. So to me, it's so top of mind that I want to keep my mind sharp and healthy, because Alzheimer's or dementia is brain inflammation, right? So I'm on a mission to do whatever I can to keep my brain as healthy as possible. And if it means bioidentical hormones, because now, we're seeing that it has a huge effect on women's brain and so forth. So it is changing, but we need so much more research. And then the sad thing, I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Peter Attia, and I can't remember the female doctor he was interviewing, is that the MDs are just not trained. Like it stopped so cold turkey and they were so horrified at doing it. So now getting back into properly prescribing bioidentical hormone for women, they don't know what to do. Like it's not part of what they've learned. So there's a big shift, especially in the functional medicine realms. And I go to conferences in the state all the time on all that. And it even educated me because I was still of the old mindset that, oh my goodness, you can't. So it's coming. There's more research, there's more awareness, there's more podcasts on it. So it's having that conversation and also knowing that each woman is different, your history with breast cancer or heart disease and so forth. So it's not that one size fits all. It really truly has to be about you and all the angles that are making your health the way it is.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry that you lost your mom due to Alzheimer's.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's tough.
It was really tough because she was a school teacher, very cerebral and always, reading and analyzing things and so forth. So when she lost completely her mind, it was just like, yeah, you really don't wish that on anyone. So again, no one knows, but we can only put all the chances on our side of doing what we can and grabbing the right information and the latest information as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like for myself, I started having brain fog issues back in 2023. And at first I thought it's because I got COVID and it was just, part of the residuals from COVID.
Yeah.
But then after COVID, 6 months later, and I still had it, that's when I decided to do my research.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to each is their own. This is a choice I decided to make. I do wear an estrogen patch,
mm-hmm.
and I do take progesterone orally. They are both bioidentical. I'm staying away from the testosterone right now because my hair's finally coming back because it had fallen out. I was just kind of sensitive to the testosterone. But
and you're being followed, right? Like that's the other thing too, is I was talking on another podcast that, we give people blood work. You say, okay, work on your HbA1c. It's too high. You're pre-diabetic. And it's like, I'll see you in a year. What the heck, right? Like, so for the inflammation marker, the omega-6 and 3, the omega index, you retest after 4 months because it takes 4 months for a new red blood cell to regenerate. So it will give you your level of inflammation. So I think this idea that we can test once and not test for like years and not follow up is so silly. So with hormones, it is really fine tuning and getting, tested on a regular basis to say, okay, or is this enough? Is it not enough? And so forth. So women really need to be followed by someone that know what they're doing and not just, okay, here you go. And I'll see you, God knows when. Same thing with changing diets and things like that. Like people need guidance. We need to be measured to see if what we're doing, it's not just about losing weight. Like it's about having better markers on your blood work and making sure that you're staying within the functional norms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about this because I had brought this up a little bit earlier about some people think that you need to work out, tons of hours. You need to dedicate all this time to working out. And, they forget about this other stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of give us an idea of how much you would, as a woman in her 50s who wants to live a life that's healthy and vitality for her.
Yeah.
But she also wants to kind of lose weight and maybe gain some muscle because, the muscle is going to help us overall.
Yeah. So again, there's no one size fits all. Well, one thing that we didn't talk about and we didn't touch upon is most women that I see who are trying to lose weight are not eating enough protein. And so that's a huge mistake that I see for women. So let's say a person weighs 160 pounds, she might be a bit overweight and she should be, 120 or 30. You almost want to go close to 1 gram per pound of protein. And a lot of women, like if we sit back and calculate the amount of protein in a day, it's ridiculous. Like it's sometimes just 30 or 40 grams. So first step for muscle mass and losing fat is to increase your protein intake. And then adding to that is to always eat a fat at the same time too. So you're stabilizing your blood sugar, because that's the only other thing that happens in menopause is blood sugar dysregulation. So the more you can keep your blood sugar regulated, the less inflamed you're going to be, and most likely the less weight you're going to gain. So never been a big fan of counting calories, but I count my protein This is like all through my day. Okay, how much protein do I have in right now? If I don't have enough, I'll have a protein shake because, again, because of what I do, I don't like to eat a big lunch because I'm working physical. So I like to have my protein shake and my greens in the afternoon, but I'm always conscious of that protein. So definitely that. And then I'd say 2 or 3 times strength training. And I've been doing kind of all rotated. Sometime I'll do 2 or 3 full body workout for a month or two. Then I'll go heavier and I'll go to kind of the old fashioned bodybuilding routine. I'll do back and tricep, chest and bicep, legs. And on another day that I go do my walk with my weighted vest because I want pressure on my bones to keep them strong, I'll do shoulders. So I'm 3 times a week for the weight training and then trying to get my heart rate high a few times during the week. And then that zone 2 exercise that we call, and it's recommended to have about 150 minutes a week of that zone 2 exercise. Zone 2 is, you're talking to your friend, but, you're a little bit out of breath. And during COVID, I started walking, and I always thought walking's for old people. Well, I must have become just old, but I started walking. And now, maybe 2 years in, I walk with a weighted vest, and I just love it. And again, I'm walking, I'm in the sun, I'm putting pressure on my frame. So it's good for muscle mass, but also bone density. And I might be listening to one of my favorite podcasts. So that's what I mean with biohacking and just, doing a few things all at the same time. So you're getting the benefit. And if I can do it in nature, just an added bonus that I got the negative ions of the forest and I can go hug a tree at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And then the number one thing, and I say number one thing because this is something I've been working on for a couple, 6 months, 7 months, hours of sleep.
Yes. So how many hours are you getting?
Right now, well, Dr. Nat, I'm going to tell you the truth. Before I was sleeping 5 hours. Yeah, no, you're not going to lose any weight. Sorry. Now I'm at about 7.5 to 8 hours.
That's great.
I interviewed a doctor a couple of months back. She's a gynecologist, obstetrician, and hormone specialist. And my mouth just kind of fell when she told me she sleeps an average of 9 hours a day.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that even when COVID hit, which I guess was 5 years ago, this is when I had just purchased my Oura Ring to measure my data. And I thought I was sleeping enough, but I wasn't, because doesn't mean because you're horizontal that you're sleeping. And I realized that I do need 7 to 9 hours, even more so like 8 to 9. And I'm shocked at myself that I never really knew that I needed that much. So again, but it's productivity, right? Like I used to get up early and, write and do all of that stuff. So again, not to say that you can't be productive, but it's just like you have to balance those pillars, and that productivity is important. And yeah, you can get up and have, 7 hours or 6 one day. It's not the end of the world, but it's that repetition of that, go, and that chronic stress that will get to you. But yeah, when I started measuring it, it was a big that I was in bed for 7 to 8, but I was not sleeping that time. So now it's nice to be able to track. Like it's something in your coaching that I'm sure that you mentioned. So having that guidance to say, okay, I didn't sleep well last night. What did I do? Okay, I ate later. Oh, I forgot my magnesium supplements. I forgot whatever other supplements you might take. I had a busy day. I didn't take time to wind down. I slept better. I went for a walk. I did my percussion muscle work. So the vibration and it relaxed me. So it's looking at, your behavior and kind of tracking when you do this, then, and it's not an exact science, but when you do this, this happens, right? So, and it's figuring out your perfect bedtime routine and your perfect time to go to bed and trying to have a set time as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, because I told you I've been doing this for about 5 to 7 months. I've been trying to, my goal is 9 because I want to be like that doctor. I want to hit 9.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that my belly fat's gone down.
Okay.
And I'm like, but I remember I told you I've been doing the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just changed one pillar.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, it's just nothing sexy about sleep, compared to cool biohacking tools and, new diet and new workout and, bust your glutes here. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not as sexy and fun as that, but it is so important. It's not even funny. Like, I remember reading the Huffington Post. Adriana wrote a book on sleep and how she was sleep deprived. And it's an older book. It's at least 10 years old, if not more. But to have someone that's a high producing person like her admit how much she abused herself and then, just really honed in on her sleep and just changed her life completely. And that her book is all about other women. Please don't do that, because you're just going to burn yourself right out, right?
Mm-hmm. So what if because I think a lot of women are like this, because I'm like this, maybe you're a little embarrassed to go to the weight section at the gym because there's so many guys there and I don't look good. I don't want to go over there and I don't really know how to use this stuff and they're going to make fun of me. Can they use resistant bands at home?
Quite possibly, but I would challenge you, find a club that maybe is women only to start. Find a girlfriend that you can go with and then hire someone there, hire a trainer, because it is intimidating. Yeah, how is this machine working, or like, what do I do here? So hire a trainer, hire a coach. You're a transformation coach. So, I mean, we can do the same thing. And not to say you need to have the trainer for the rest of your life, but at least to get you started, to get you comfortable, to give you a routine to do your weights, making sure that you're doing it properly. And just challenge yourself to do it. So yeah, resistant bands are good, but weight, dumbbell, barbell, they're just a lot of functional movement you need to do, will need more resistance than what the bands can offer. When I travel, I do bring my resistant band and it's great to incorporate, but challenge yourself. Find a gym that you feel comfortable. I know one of the local gym here has a 2-weight area, one for women's only and one for men and women. So get yourself comfortable. And once you do it for a few weeks, like, what was I worried about, right? Like, everybody's there with their headphones on, they're doing their thing. Nobody's really like, we think people are paying attention, but everybody's busy doing what they need to do to get home and do their thing. And it's so empowering to be able to, do things that maybe you were not able to do. And you talked about vitality, but strength is huge. Like, one of the tests that we do for longevity is grip strength. So a dynamometer that you squeeze, and if you have low grip strength, it's a marker that's not good for longevity. So, all of those things are important. Even standing from a seated position, like in with your legs crossed, like, if you can do that, that means you have good hip mobility, good stability. So those are all things that, will help you. And it's almost, as we get older, we need to train to be able to be functionally fit. So now I don't train to, necessarily say that I bench press that amount, but it's just like, I want to be independent in my 80s, in my 90s, that I'm able to move, I'm able to do what I want to do. So now the mindset shifts a little bit, that we're training for life, right? Like, we're training to be able to do the activities of our regular lives.
What about balance? Because I think that's a big thing with women. Because if we fall, unfortunately, we are high risk for osteoporosis.
Yeah, I think they say that if an older person, not just women, falls or break a hip, usually within 1 year, unfortunately, because they stop moving and, it just goes downhill. So it truly is important to keep moving.
Mm-hmm. What are 3 biohacks advice that you would give someone that they can do right now? And, do it for 90 days and see a change.
Well, I'll go back to my 1 gram of protein per lean muscle mass. So like I said, don't go necessarily with your weight that you're at, but the weight that you want to be at. Strength training, and then moving. And when I say moving, so many people work at the computers, right? So the level of inactivity just from the sheer fact that you're at the computer. So right now I'm standing, I'm a sit stand. So for the people, and that's a lot of people that are stuck behind screens at the computer, I'd say put your phone on alert every hour and then just move away from your computer, do some push-up, do some body weight squat, go for a walk around the block. So moving, getting your 10 to 15,000 steps daily, that's the minimum. That's not even a workout. That's just the minimum. So I think those three things, again, super basic. And then I guess I would add, get outside, go get some sun, make sure your vitamin D levels are optimal, check your inflammation, look into these omega index for your inflammation. So again, not complicated stuff, but hacks that can really, really have a big impact. And even like I said, just 1 gram of protein and 2 or 3, if you can, 4 times of weight training, even if it's for 30 minutes, I guarantee you within 2 months, you are going to see a change in your body composition.
And I know, because I did research on this, and since you're an expert, I'm going to ask you. If somebody wanted to start wearing a weighted vest, because they say, you know what, I'm already walking.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten hurt. I bought a 20-pound weighted vest and I hurt for like 8 days. And passed it on to my husband so that he could take it for the last mile.
Yeah.
And he hurt bad too.
Yeah. So start small, right? And again, it depends on your weight. If you're a petite 100-pound woman, well, 20 pounds is a lot. And it might not be the thing for you. You're just going to go for a regular walk. Like I said, I truly enjoy it. I started with, 20 and just increase. But, if you have a neck injury, I don't suggest it. I have a friend that I run with. We do trail running and she has chronic neck issue. I said to her, Isabel, weighted vest, not the best for you. Let's think of something else because it's pushing her neck forward, right? So there's always cases, and you need to make sure that the weight is spread evenly so it's not hurting you. So again, it's like anything. If you're training for something, you're not going to go and do everything on the first day. You need to let your body adapt. And if that's not for you, it's not for you. So I know it's a bit of a trend and it's like, oh, it looks cool and I'm going to do it, but maybe it's not for you. I'm just saying that I truly enjoy it. If you live with chronic pain and you have injuries, then, it might not be the right thing for you. And I guess to finish too is you have to find an activity or sports that you like. I have patients right now that are obsessed with pickleball, which I haven't tried. Have you tried it?
I haven't. I'd be afraid I'd knock my teeth out from falling on my face.
Yeah. Anywho, so they love it. They love it. They're outside, for hours and all ages, people in their 40s and up, patients in their 70s do it. Yay. They found an activity they like. It's a social aspect. They're out there. It's like, so, and even with weight training, you don't like it or, give it a try. But if you don't, then try to make it fun. Go with a friend or, you really have to do things. Life's too short. You have to do things that you enjoy. So find an activity that's going to get you moving, that you're going to enjoy, that you can do with your husband or a friend.
And Dr. Nat, I forgot to ask this. I know you have a 90-day program.
Yes. Yeah. So it's called a 90-day reboot. And I take an inventory, like I said, through a functional medicine questionnaire and lifestyle habits and so forth. And then I sit back and we look at the person's goal and, what system we need a bit more nurturing. And we come up with a 90-day plan for her or him to kind of, move forward to their goals. And it's so much fun. I just love doing this. And I have, tons of resources to give in terms of nutrition and supplementation and exercise and through the books. But I tailor it to the person that I'm working with because, I could have someone that's 70. I could have someone that's 35 that's trying to get pregnant and is having, issues with that. So it's just looking at where the person is and what their goals are and which system might not be working optimally for them to have optimal health.
And how do you work with people? Do you work with people like on Zoom and
virtually for sure? Now, me being in Canada and in Ontario, when I work with someone like this, it's more lifestyle coaching. I am not able to dispense information as a doctor because I'm not the doctor of the person, but it's lifestyle coaching to, okay, here's what we have. What can we do to, create stronger pillars and create that foundation and change your habits that it will stick. That's the name of one of my first book, Hack Your Health Habits, because it's one thing to know to do something, but if we're not integrating it on a daily basis, it's not going to stick and we're not going to keep at it. Or if we try to integrate too many new things all at once.
For the woman out there listening to us or watching us and says, man, I love what Dr. Nat said here. I love what she said here. But I don't think I can do it. I just, seems overwhelming. What is the one piece of advice that you would like to give her?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'd say to take an inventory right now of how she feels, how she is, and ask herself if she's happy where she's at. And I'm not saying that, for a person to feel bad about, oh my God, I'm not where I am, but it's just, kind of creating, again, that awareness of, because we control our lives, right? Like to a great extent, not all the time, but it's just to make that decision that, okay, you don't think that you can do it, but where are you right now? And what can you do that is still within your reach, but you know that you should do, but you're not doing, kind of thing. And give yourself the permission to do it, right? Give yourself the time. I always talk about time management, but it's also energy management. So give yourself the space to be able to take the time and have the energy to pour into you and making sure that you're taking care of yourself.
And it's easy. It just takes biohacking.
Yeah. And we're never done. Like, I'm constantly learning. There's days that I look at my diet, I'm like, oh my God, I really screwed up today. I barely ate protein. And it's not to, I joke, take the baseball bat and just, whack on yourself here. It's like, tomorrow's a new day. I can start on a, new day. And this is one thing that we get to do as human is wake up every morning and just start fresh and try to do better that day. So as I get older, I'm even a bit less hard on myself if I don't do all of the stuff that I need to do, because we can't do it all in one day. Come on, right? So I have, like in one of my book, I talk about our non-negotiable, that those are the things like brushing your teeth at night, you're not going to not do. But some non-negotiable are daily, some are weekly, some are monthly. So if you start looking at things on a daily and weekly and monthly point of view, you don't feel so pressed and obligated to do it all. And if you do, say you have a hard time taking your vitamins, but you do it 5 days out of 7, well, it's 5 days out of 7. So, okay, you missed a 2. So it's looking at things in the positive, that you've done that, yay, as opposed to you didn't do 2 days, right?
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Good advice. Dr. Nat, for the people that want to hear more about you, maybe even hire you on so that you can help them biohack their life.
So my website, and because my name is a bit complicated, so my website is drnat, DRNAT.life. We kept it easy. And if people go on there, they can also at drnatplaybook.com download one of my top 10 biohacking tips that women or men, for that matter, too, can do to implement in their life. So it's full of practical stuff. And on my website, they can subscribe to my newsletter. I blog very regularly, all sorts of different topics. So you can go and check it out.
And they can also see you, listen to you.
Yes, so I do quite a bit of podcasting. I did have my own TV show for one season. We'll be starting back pretty soon, but on Instagram and Facebook for sure. I, post some hacks that I'm doing and all kind of different things.
Great. Dr. Nat, thank you so much for coming on the show. I will link all of your information in the show notes so that people can get your help.
Thank you so much for having me, Carmen. It was very joyful, and I wish you luck with your chronic pain, but it looks like, you might have learned a few things today and just maybe integrate that and hopefully we'll make a change for you.
I know I did. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Here's your take action recap. Protein. Aim for roughly a gram per day for each pound of your goal weight to build muscle and regulate your sugar. Sleep work. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours. Better rest equals calmer cortisol and a quieter waistline. Smarter training. Lift 2 to 3 times a week and get in the zone with 2 brisk walks that week. Morning stack. A few minutes of real light outside, a short walk or movement, snack, and hydration. Inflammation checklist. Ask your medical provider or functional medicine provider about an omega-6, omega-3 panel to see what your cells are actually dealing with. A huge thanks to Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp for the practical science-backed steps we can live with. If you're a woman in midlife who knows you need Dr. Nat's help to start aging with vitality and lock in habits that will shape the next decade, her details are listed in the show notes below. Learn more at createthebestme.com/EP137. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit the like button, and while you're there, hit subscribe so you don't miss another conversation made just for you. Until then, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself by lifting some weights, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Bye for now.